Hey, what's up everyone? It's your girl Mick and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, recently I have been watching Boy Meets World, a show from my childhood that I loved, but I didn't really remember it, so I was like, let me just rewatch it all. Why not? I have some controversial opinions according to everyone else, which I didn't really know were that controversial, or I did. Now we're just gonna get into some things that don't really make sense and like don't really add up for me. And then we're gonna get into my controversial opinion. Okay, the first thing that's weird and doesn't add up is something I think everyone knows. The fact that Mr. Feeney is always their teacher. They even mention it, like the fact that he was their teacher in kindergarten and then all the way up, he was like their teacher in everything. The fact that he was the principal and then taught 2 different classes at that school. They even make the joke in college, I think like their second semester or their second year. Sean's like, oh, like who do you have for a teacher? And Corey's like, oh, Mr. Feeney for all 5 classes. So he's teaching every single one of their classes in college. And the other weird thing is like how in college they all have the same classes together. Like Sean, Corey, Topanga, Jack, Eric, and Rachel. Like they're all doing different majors, different things, and you're telling me they all have the same class? The second thing that was weird to me was Mr. Turner's storyline. He was like a big part in the show and a big part in Sean's life, and he took in Sean and it was amazing. I loved Mr. Turner. Like he was really good for Sean. And then he's in the show for a little bit after that and then just kind of disappears. Like I know he wasn't gonna be their teacher every year like Mr. Feeney, but I still thought he'd be a part of the show. I guess I remember him being in it more than he actually was. I thought he would have just kind of like been in there a few times. The third thing that I thought was weird is just more of a personal thing. When I was younger, I thought Minkus was in the show a lot. And I watched Girl Meets World and Minkus's son Farkle was in the show, main character. So I thought like Minkus was in the show a lot. That's what I remember. And then he was only in season 1. And then he showed up at the end of high school in season 5 when he's like, oh, I've been on that side of the school. And he like pointed behind the camera and he was like, yeah, I've been over there. So that was like a little funny, But I was like, oh, I thought you had like a big part in this show and you're only like a main character in season 1 and then you disappear. The fourth thing that I thought was really weird was how like dumb they made Eric. Like I know he's supposed to be like the dumb goofball character, but they made him really dumb, especially in the later seasons. Like I don't think he was that dumb in the beginning. And then when he didn't get into college and then he ended up like studying, doing like tutoring, taking the SATs again, getting in, I thought like, there's some character development, he's gonna be like a little smarter. And he got dumber. I think they just like played his life like that. Like he couldn't even spell future. Like his mom spelled out future and he's like, don't worry about my furniture. Yikes. And he's in the same classes as Topanga and Jack. The fifth thing that I think is weird is the apartment that Eric, Sean, and Jack lived in. And then
Eric, Jack, Rachel.
And then like Rachel, Angela, Topanga, and whoever, and everyone lived there. Like Jack's dad is rich. So I understand that he could have lived in it rent free and he didn't make his brother or Eric pay rent. But then he moved out. So who was paying that rent? The sixth thing that I think is weird is the fact that Corey and Sean were whores. Like they were hoes when they were kids. Like middle school, junior high, early high school, like that time period, like from when they're like 12, 13 to like 14, 15 and Sean forever, they were just hoes. Like I know Eric was bringing home different girls and stuff, but he was like bringing them home to study and then trying to like kiss them, trying to hook up with them. But like Sean and Corey were like 13, 14, like really young. And they continuously showed them like kissing girls and like going on different dates every day with different girls. And it's just really weird and really creepy. Because if I pull up to a middle school, or in this case like their junior high, and I see a bunch of like 8th graders kissing all the time, you're a child, please, that freaked me out. Okay, this wasn't necessarily weird, but I guess I just have a question. How good of a school was Pembroke? I didn't really look it up to see if it's a real school or not, whatever. But how good of a school was Pembroke? Because Eric didn't get in anywhere. And then he studied, redid the SATs, and he got in. But then like Corey went there, Topanga went there, Jack went there, Rachel went there, Sean went there. And obviously Sean was gonna struggle to get in some schools too, and I know Corey wanted them to all go to school together, but like, the fact that Topanga got into Yale and chose Pembroke, you would think Pembroke's a really good school. But then, like, Sean and Eric got there. So it's like, they're all going there, but, like, Eric and Topanga are not on the same level. And I know it's an old show, but overall there was a lot of weird sexist moments and just like, oh my god, girls are so confusing. I don't know why they don't want us hooking up with other girls while we're in a relationship. Just like dumb, weird, sexist shit. And I'm like, get help. Seek out therapy. Okay, so the last thing that I think is weird before my controversial opinions is the Matthews parents. Like, they're good parents and like they're supposed to be like this whole like golden family, but they have really weird moments and bad moments that aren't talked about, or they're played out as a joke. Like, Alan was straight up a shitty husband sometimes, and that's never mentioned. We're gonna start with the mom, and at one point when Topanga is going to move and they're going to do long distance between like Corey and Topanga, she's like, no, you guys should break up, it's gonna be really hard, you guys should see other people, like, it's good for you guys to date other people. I know they're really young, and like that's why she's saying that, but that's exactly why they should be able to figure it out for themselves. Like, let them do long distance for 2-3 months, see how hard it is. If they break up, they break up. She was just really negative about Corey and Topanga sometimes. Moving on to Alan, I have a lot to say about this man because I have a lot to say about the sexism in the show, but we're not really going to go into all of that. Okay, so, number one, Alan got his wife, I really forget her name, I'm so sorry, but for their anniversary in one of the earlier seasons, he gets her a kitchen appliance. And it's like, oh, she said she needed it, or said we needed it, so I got her this. He actually does end up getting her a gift because Mr. Feeney tells him, but the fact that he just chose to get her a kitchen appliance that they all needed for an anniversary gift at your big age? There was this one time he was talking to Corey with his wife there, and they're talking about the fact that Topanga might be pregnant, and they're just like having a conversation about it, and I forget what he was talking about, but then he goes, yeah, and your mother never got her figure back. And then he like tries to backpedal, but it's like, why would you say that about your wife? Then there was the ski lodge episode. I'm not gonna get into the part with Corey right now, but I'm just gonna get into the part with Alan still. So when he's talking to Corey about it and trying to like tell him it's okay that he made these decisions and this and that, he talks about how his wife, he's like, yo, your mother let me go out on a date with this girl to like see how things were before like me and her continued our relationship. And she goes, I never gave you permission to go out with that girl. And I was like, oh no, I was just kidding, it's an example. Like, you just admitted to cheating on your wife. No wonder, like, that's where Corey gets it from. Yeah, this is my controversial opinion. I think Corey Matthews is one of the worst characters on the show. This is a Corey Matthews hate club. Overall, I think his character is just kind of annoying, but I also think he's a bad friend sometimes, a bad son sometimes, a bad brother sometimes, and a bad boyfriend sometimes. Now, yes, does he have some good moments? Yeah. Does he have like moments I'm like, oh yeah, go Corey? Yeah. Do I hate him? Most of the time. Let's just start with Sean. In one of the episodes in season 5, Sean and Corey have a work study in the mailroom, and Sean gets promoted. And then Corey tries to get promoted as well and ends up getting fired. He starts acting like a brat, throwing a fit, and he's so upset that Sean got promoted and he didn't. He's just like making it a whole mess. And he's all, well, I'm the good friend, I'm the good child, Sean's the screw up, so I should be the one promoted and taking Sean with me, not the other way around. Even so, you should be proud that your friend is doing something good and he's good at a job. Like, you can't be good at everything. Be proud of your friend. Like, why would you not be proud of him? And then when Sean gets a job as a photographer's assistant and then is guaranteed full-time work after he graduates high school, Corey's not supportive at all. And then Sean's weighing his options of, do I go to college or do I get this job? Because he didn't even get into college yet. And Corey's throwing a whole fit saying, why are you throwing away your future? You have to go to college. And Sean's like, let me see if I got in. Sean ends up getting into Pembroke. And then he's like, I'm not gonna go to college. I'm gonna go to this job. I have been offered full-time and I really love it. And Corey throws a whole fit. He's screaming and he's yelling. He's like, you're throwing away your future. You're making a huge mistake. Why would you do this? You're ruining your life. You're ruining my plan. Oh my God, why would you ever do this to me? My whole plan was for all of us to go to college together, and now we're not gonna go to college together. Like, it's not about you. And you're going to Pembroke. That's not far from home because you're going home all the time. Sean's still gonna be there. Moving on to being a bad brother. At the end of season 3, Eric graduates high school and is having a graduation party. Corey manages to yell at Eric like the last week he's supposed to be living there and just make Eric miserable and everyone in the family miserable because he's sad that Eric is leaving and they never really got the chance to bond or become friends, which is understandable, but you really shouldn't ruin your brother's last week at home. He then decides to make the entire graduation party about himself. Everyone's giving nice toast and cheering Eric for graduating and going to college, or not going to college, but like graduating and trying to get to college. Corey makes toast and makes the entire thing about himself and then walks out. I'd be pissed if my brother did that to me. In the last season, Corey is supposed to clean out the garage with Eric. His dad asked him to. But Corey decides to clean it out with Sean and Topanga, and then Eric finds out and is upset, rightfully so. He's like, these are our childhood memories. I want to clean them out together. And Corey's like, oh, he would have just saved everything, blah, blah, blah. Would have been a waste. Even though Corey was saving everything and he couldn't let anything go. Anyway, Eric was rightfully upset about that. And he ends up like being mad at Corey for the majority of the episode. They end up fighting and arguing. And Eric's like, you're right. We're brothers. We're not friends. We don't have to be. Which is true. Corey was so desperate to be Eric's friend that he ruined his graduation party, and then a few years later, he doesn't want to do anything with him? He's like, oh, it's hard because we're adults. Then put in an effort. That's all you have to do. Now, we get into the major controversy. I think Corey's a bad boyfriend. I think Corey and Topanga should not be together. I do not think they're a golden couple. I think Topanga deserves better. Corey cheats on Topanga twice. Not once, but twice. They also break up like 3 times during the show, but that's also not what this is about. It's just about him being a cheater, and then we'll get into some other bad stuff that he does. So the first time he cheats on her is, I think, junior high school, when he gets into the relationship with Topanga, and it's really good, but then all these girls start liking him because he's in a relationship. This girl continuously flirts with him and then invites him to her party. Topanga's sick and just says, you should go to this party. She also doesn't know that this girl has been flirting with Corey the entire time. Corey goes to the party and promises Topanga he's gonna bring her some ice cream because she's sick. He shows up with Sean, and it's only that girl and her friend. She's like, this is it. So Sean and the other girl run off, and Corey decides to stay. That's weird in its own. If you respected your girlfriend, you wouldn't stay alone with this girl that's flirting with you. At the time, Corey said he was going to bring Topanga her ice cream, which was 9 p.m. He realizes it's past 9, tries to call her, and then the girl starts kissing his neck. He lets her, and then they kiss. She did previously try to kiss him when they were dancing before he called her, and like they were dancing and she tried to kiss him. He stopped her, but then he let her kiss his neck, and then they kissed. The second time he cheats on her is at the ski lodge. He hurts his ankle and then spends the entire day talking to this girl the entire night. The entire night. Which is a little weird if you're in a relationship, even though Topanga didn't care. And then his ankle felt better in the morning. He lies to Topanga and says, oh, doesn't feel good, so we can stay and talk to this girl. When he tells Topanga the truth, she forgives him. She's like, just don't lie to me again. But the girl kissed Corey. Corey kissed her back. During the night of them talking, Corey also says, I do like you, but nothing can happen, all this. He doesn't tell Topanga about this. And then when the girl gives Corey a letter, Topanga finds it and reads it, finds out about the kiss, and then is rightfully mad at Corey because Corey did not tell her. They end up breaking up at like an episode or 2 later because that girl came back into town, and Topanga was like, yeah, you know what, if you need to go out with her to see like where your heart lies, go ahead. he goes out with her, has a good time, and then like they do this scale thing with Sean about like who he should stay with, and he makes them balance out. But then he's like, I can't live without Topanga. And then they talk about it, and Topanga says, well, the fact that you needed to go on a date and like be with this other girl to realize that you loved me is really messed up, because I would never have to do that to you. Rightfully so. They break up. Corey's pissy for the next few episodes, and he talks about, I did nothing wrong, it's not my fault she read the letter, okay? I did nothing wrong, she shouldn't have read the letter, like she told me to go out with her, I can't believe she's mad about it. The fact that you chose to go out with this girl that you cheated on your girlfriend with, messed up. The fact that you're saying you did nothing wrong when you kissed another girl, lied about it, stayed up all night talking to her, said you liked her, that's wrong. The fact that Topanga read the letter is not wrong. You cheated on her and she found out. You cannot be mad about that. You're like, I did nothing wrong, like she shouldn't have read the letter, it's not my fault she read the letter. It's not about the letter, it's about you cheating on her and not telling her. And then going on a date with that girl to prove that you love Topanga or whatever. That's ridiculous. Now, beyond the fact that he cheated on her twice, which is fucking ridiculous, there's some other things he did. Okay, so my camera just stopped working, and it turned off for one part, and then the other part it recorded but didn't really save. So I'm gonna do a really quick recap of what I said. There's this episode where Sean and Angela are dating, Corey and Topanga are dating, and the girls got a job at this restaurant, and they're like, hey, do you guys want to come dancing with us after work? We're gonna go with some coworkers. The boys refuse, and then they get jealous that the coworkers are men. They're upset about this, they kind of start a fight, and it's a repeating cycle for like a week. They try to bring girls to the restaurant to make the girls jealous, it does not work. The boys end up ignoring the girls for 2 whole days and try to make up for it with a little dance number. That episode was really weird, really sexist. The other things I said were just, Corey really does not pay attention to Topanga at all when Sean is around. It's ridiculous, especially in the last season when she's talking about this law internship. And also with the Yale acceptance. Corey also ended up making their marriage and their wedding about sex. Whenever Topanga's like, hey, can you help me with the wedding? He goes, let's focus on the honeymoon. When Topanga was going to move out of town a couple hours away or whatever, Corey refused to say goodbye. She was like, can I get a hug and a kiss? He refused. He's a straight up disrespectful fiance. He went to this little like restaurant bar that like girls, it was like a Hooters but like for up top. These boys that he was with who don't even like him made fun of him for wearing a ring. He takes off the ring and this girl sits on him, and he lets all these girls like surround him and shove their, in his face. Topanga's like, oh, I don't like when you use our relationship to hide from reality. This is when his younger brother Josh is born, and Corey's like, well, I don't like that you're not Topanga. And he was like, everything's gonna be okay if you just hold my hand. And she's like, no, your little brother was born premature. Like, let's talk about it, let's face the reality. And they fight about that. So yeah, that was just a really quick recap. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of this, and if you like Corey, that's fine, let me know why. Yeah, do all the classic YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Second controversial opinion, Topanga and Jack would have been a really cute couple.